Hello everyone and welcome to Global Outlook. I'm Mary Sitt. With the hashtag #MeToo movement reaching a groundswell, powerful men resigning for past sins, what does this mean for women in the workplace? Will this balance the playing field ever be level, or will there be a backlash effect? Susan Hodge has some answers for us. Susan is a certified professional coach with her own company called Women Leading Together. She's a seasoned executive who's worked as a treasurer at Shell Oil and vice president of an international group within Royal Dutch Shell. Thank you so much for being with us, Susan.
Oh, happy to be here.
So let's talk about what's in the news, sort of been dominating the headlines, the hashtag #MeToo. Some men are saying, well, I think these women just want their 15 minutes of fame. They're just getting up there to try to just get the limelight on them. Why do they wait so long to talk about this? And why have women, do you think, waited so long?
Well, first of all, we had some groundbreaking women that come forth. And what they've done is they've made it safe to talk about. I mean, it's time. This has been going on for decades.
Right.
And, companies can no longer turn their backs on it. And more women are coming forth because for once they'll be believed. I mean, it's been too long that it would be blame the victim, or the victim wouldn't be believed. So I think it's time. I think it's safe.
So why are women being believed now? What's that tipping point that we reached where all of a sudden people are taking actions, companies are taking actions?
We had some prominent people come out that had a voice in the entertainment industry. They have a natural voice.
Right.
And some people who have some careers that they feel comfortable, they're not at risk. So then it's like momentum, it's a snowball. And once people start to believe that maybe this really can be happening, then it makes others comfortable talking about it. I know I'm more comfortable talking about it now than I was 30 years ago.
Right, same here.
Yeah.
And if we all start talking about it, then maybe we can come to a solution, right? And change the way we do business at the workplace.
Well, I hope so. I mean, here's what I think it will happen. Anytime we have something dramatic that comes out, the pendulum is going to swing. And it'll probably swing a little too far. And we'll get men being uncomfortable with women, or maybe they'll get some hangers-on or some stories that don't have quite as much merit. But that doesn't mean we should dismiss them, because most, 90 plus, who knows what percent, will be real stories that we need to pay attention to. And then, well, the pendulum will probably swing back, and my hope is that it'll be okay for these complaints to come forth in the workplace, and that now there will be an equal voice given so that the women will be heard, and companies can't just blame the victim or fire the victim or get her comfortably out of the way, all of which have happened in the past.
Susan, what role does power have to do with this? Because these are all, most of the men being accused have been very powerful men. Right? People we all see in the media.
Yeah.
And does power just corrupt, and once you're in a powerful position, you forget to mind your manners, and
Well, I'll express an opinion, and then also something I've read that comes from more research base. I think it is easy, the more powerful we become, men or women, the more powerful we become, to believe that somehow we're right. Somehow we are able to, gosh, everyone else loves us, we must be doing really well. I think
and the rules
easy.
don't apply to me.
Yeah,
right?
or maybe we just lose track of what the rules are. So I do think that there is an element of, this is about power and control. These are all about power and having influence over someone else. But there was also a Harvard Business Review article sometime in the past year that talked about, it asked this very question, does power corrupt? And as I recall, there was a positive correlation that somehow the more powerful a person, their moral compass, or they were more likely to make decisions that were not in alignment with the moral compass. It's not causal,
right,
but there must be something about power and ego and how we think of ourselves.
In your work, when you're coaching women and men to be leaders, but in your company you focus on women, right?
I do.
Does this ever come up, this whole power thing, and how to deal with it, the imbalance of power when you're trying to become a leader and you're sort of in your career?
I've been in the workplace a long time, and long before I had my business, I was mentoring women, and I will just say I've had a lot of stories come up over the years. And it's interesting how I would tell people to deal with the situation 30 years ago
Yeah, so what did you say 30 years ago and what would you say today?
Well, 30 years ago, and I remember a specific conversation with a woman who was not in, I mean, she was a clerical person and very concerned about her job because of the person bothering her.
She was being harassed.
She was being harassed and propositioned and very uncomfortable.
Right.
And I remember saying to her, I don't think you can go to HR because it's going to be your word against his, and this particular person was above reproach. I mean, he had a grand reputation, and everything that happened was happening behind the scenes. So she ultimately transferred to another department. Today, well, first of all, the strength that comes to talk about this has to come from someone inside. So they have to make their own decisions, what they are and are not willing to do. But I'd also say there's a range of responses. Because if you're dealing with someone whose behavior is, which is a situation I had, not physically aggressive, but very uncomfortable and way too suggestive, and that you may handle much differently than someone who's very physically aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say the situation where someone is not physically aggressive but makes you very uncomfortable. What's the first step? First act? Just talk to the person and say, look, I don't like this, please stop.
I'll tell you what I did.
Okay.
And it was a long time ago. And it was with a boss, and it went on, and it wasn't, I mean, there were propositions and there was, you know, touching and things that made me uncomfortable, and it wasn't stopping. So I went into his office one day and closed the door, and I thought I would give him an out. And I said, we all have personal space, and you may not be aware of it, but you are violating my personal space when you do these things, and I would appreciate it if you would stop. And of course his response was, oh my goodness, I had no idea. He knew what he was doing.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, just please stop. And he did. Now that's probably the easiest, lowest level,
Right. You're trying
and
to
everything,
Yeah.
everything would kind of escalate from there with a different kind of behavior, but he did stop.
So today, in this environment, with this movement going on, and women are saying, I'm trying to become a leader in my company, but you know, I feel like these other things are happening, maybe harassment. What kind of advice would you give? Go to HR immediately, or try to solve it one-to-one?
I think it depends on the situation and the person.
Okay.
I mean, when I hear stories of someone stalking someone and following to their car, that's a very different. You can't do that on your own.
Right.
That is a little too weird. But if you've got something that starts, I mean, you can always start and try that one-on-one if it is non-aggressive behavior and if it's a person you think that might respond to that. But then you just have to look for where you think, you know, HR. I always think it's a good idea to get another perspective from a mentor that you can talk things through.
Should men be held accountable for their actions 20 years
absolutely.
ago? 20 years ago? 30 years ago?
Oh.
You know, and someone comes out of the woodwork and say, you know, he did this to me 20 years ago, and I felt uncomfortable.
You know,
should they be, or should just be like he gives her an apology, matter is settled, or does the person get fired? You know, what are the variables in your opinion that need to happen before?
Well, I think it depends. I think it depends if there's a pattern, if it's currently ongoing, how severe it was. You know, there are a lot of things that people did 20 years ago that they may not do today.
Right.
And I don't think any of us want to have our history from 20 or 30 years ago following us around the rest of our lives. But it depends on how severe it was, what damage was done, you know.
Is this going to be, is this a good thing ultimately, this hashtag #MeToo movement, or do you think it's really going to backlash against women?
You know, like I said, I think the pendulum could swing, and I think we could have some backlash. But I think it is a good thing. I mean, whatever we're going to have to go through to get to that balance, I think will be worth it. I think we need to do it.
Okay. We're going to be right back talking about leadership in the workplace and how to become a leader. Don't go away. More with Susan Hodge, certified professional coach, who will give us 35 years of wisdom and 3 tips. Stay with us.
Houston Community College and Apple are teaming to bring iOS coding to everyone, creating opportunities in the app economy. Our cutting-edge iOS coding and design program teaches students to make apps that can make all of our lives easier. Open to all, benefiting everyone. Our partnership with Apple moves HCC to the front of the class in teaching app design. This innovation is one more reason why we are Houston's community college.
Center of Excellence for Global Energy offers programs in drafting, design engineering technology, electronic engineering technology, instrumentation, control engineering technology, process technology, and petroleum engineering technology. Graduates from our programs in science, engineering, technology can expect $50,000 to $100,000 of salaries per year. If you're interested in a successful career in science, engineering, and technology programs, join HCC Global Energy.
An engineering career is a wonderful career. The HCC Engineering Center of Excellence created a new degree which allows students to take the first 2 years of a 4-year engineering program here at HCC, and then they transfer to an upper division college. Total tuition costs for that 4-year degree is under $20,000. More than 1 million engineers will be retiring over the next 10 years. We need to educate the next generation of engineers, not just for Houston or Texas, but for the country.
We've been talking with Susan Hodge, a certified professional coach and founder of her company called Women Leading Together. Susan, tell us, how can we become leaders, and how can young men and women who are starting out in their careers start developing those leadership traits?
You know, there's always this question, are leaders born or are they made? And I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
Some people have a natural proclivity to want to be out in front. But you can also learn a lot of leadership skills. I mean, I've taught a leadership class in the past, and students do really come away with heightened awareness about how they can be better leaders.
So give me some tips. 3 tips of 35 based on 35 years experience. I love that
Well,
title.
first of all, I think when we become leaders when our perspective changes from the task at hand to the greater goal.
Okay.
And that's really kind of where my mentality comes from on this, because when you become a leader, when you're leading something or somebody, it's not about you anymore.
Okay.
This isn't about your ego, it's about the people and the organization, and I think that's where some get it wrong, but it's not about you. So you have to learn to put the greater good, the enterprise or the business first, and the second point is people matter.
Okay.
You're leading people, and you want people to be their best so that the organization can be the best. And when you do that, that means you've got to talk to them, you have to communicate with them, you've got to develop them, and you've got to have a vision that you bring them along, not just tell them what to do, but let them come along with you.
So how do you convince them that your vision should be their vision also?
Well, that's an interesting word, convince, because you don't really convince people of a vision.
Okay.
What you do is you give them the opportunity for it to become their vision.
By asking for their input, by getting them on the ground level?
Input, making it relevant. I mean, what does it mean? You know, you've got a huge company, or you've got to make it relevant for the people. They need to feel like they're a part of it, like what they do matters, like they can contribute to it.
Okay.
And yeah, people love to give their input. And you know what? You don't have to take every idea that you're given, but listening is a big deal. Listening and acknowledging.
Okay.
Even if you can't do everything that's suggested.
How do you get away from being so focused on your own career and your own self and on your own advancement to look at the greater good when there's so much politics involved in all this? And you're trying to, I'm trying to get ahead, I'm trying to do this, and this person's doing that, and this one's, you know what I'm saying? How do you get your vision away from that narrow vision on yourself to the greater good of the company?
Well, and I don't mean to suggest that it's only about the company. I mean, obviously individuals are motivated to, achieve, and so there's an element of, we bring ourselves to the job.
Right.
But you talk about the politics involved. It's really about the intent.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always politics involved in any climbing the ladder. But what's the intent behind it? Is the intent to do the right thing and get your idea heard and get recognition for something that you think needs to happen? Or is the intent to, win and get promoted at the expense of anybody else.
Okay.
And I'll tell a little story. A long time ago, there was a person that I observed, actually someone that worked for me in a large group in the company. And I got word from a coworker of his that they didn't trust him.
Okay.
And I'm like, surprised me, because a very talented individual. And so when I hear something once, I'm just like, When I start to hear it twice, I pay attention. And when I hear it 3 times, like, there must be something to this. So when I started hearing more about this trusting, this trustworthiness, that this person was going around claiming credit for other people's work, sole credit, he was manipulating his way into very senior positions and then backstabbing his colleagues, et cetera. And it turned out to be true. And you don't want to believe that people like that can survive in an organization. And here's my thing. They might survive in the short term, but they don't in the long term. And eventually, it was a few years later, this person whose intent was solely to succeed advance himself at the expense of anybody or anyone else, he didn't make it. He was eventually figured out and fired. So the intent behind the politics, I think, is...
That's important. Give me those 3 tips.
The 3 tips.
In 35 years of experience.
I've been around a long time in the workplace, and I'm going to give a little bit of credit to a friend of mine, and these came from his retirement luncheon. And I actually wrote a newsletter about it. But we were talking about what are 3 things that can differentiate you when you're going into a new job. So they're not necessarily leadership tips, but they're career tips. Okay. And I thought they were good ones. He said, number 1, never be afraid to take responsibility. Okay. So, and that goes for men, women, anyone. Go for the bigger jobs, take responsibility. Also own the things that go right and the things that don't go so right, but take responsibility. Another was change something. So you want to go in and make a difference. How do you differentiate yourself? You differentiate yourself by doing something that is noticeable. So if you change something, change it for the right reasons, but change something.
And change something that's within your power at that
within
point.
Your
right,
power,
course,
right.
Yeah.
And that is to the benefit of the people or the business. And the third was keep the enterprise first. Look at, and that's really comes back to some of the
what you said earlier.
things. Keeping the big picture in mind. Making sure that what you're doing is going to benefit the business, benefit the organization, benefit the people, and not just solely for your own, not solely for
Susan,
gain.
we all know that men and women are different. Okay, so in the workplace, how can women use those differences to further their career in a nice way? Not, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and men and women are different, and we just need to acknowledge this. And I do work on gender communications and how it can confuse us in business. And there's a lot of very consistent research about ways men and women can communicate differently. Now, these are not absolutes. It's not everyone's one way or the other, but the research does show that these differences exist on a continuum. And one of the things that they're very different in is how we talk about our accomplishments. Okay. And what I mean by that is men get more comfortable early on.
I did this, this, and this, boom.
Yeah,
right?
and they get comfortable at a very young age talking about using the language of hierarchy and status. And Deborah Tannen, an author that's been working on this for a long time, thinks that originates in part because of how we play. They're competitive, one up, one down positions.
Young girls are more collaborative, group play.
And exactly. Collaborative, keep the playing field level, everybody be nice.
So women don't talk about their accomplishments at work.
So they don't talk about their accomplishments. And they get uncomfortable. And a consistent word I hear is, oh, it feels like I'm bragging. But one of the things that women have to do is they have to get comfortable talking about what they did. And it's possible. You can talk about what you did and what you accomplished, because that's how you get recognized, is to let people know what you did.
Good tips. Thank you so much, Susan. And we can find more on your website, these great newsletters you have archived, right?
Thanks for having me.
Women working together. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we'll meet one of the best and brightest students from an island surrounded by beauty and home to some heavy hitters in Major League Baseball. We'll explain right after this.
The construction COE is like a big umbrella. We have several disciplines goes underneath it. Construction technology, plumbing, heating, ventilation and air conditioning, industrial electricity, and solar technology.
The students are excited to be a part of this program because they realize that it is positioning them to outshine the competition.
At Houston Community College, we focus on the future. The transition the students from Houston Community College to the workplace, it will be seamless.
Computers run everything in our lives, and we have built this incredible digital infrastructure. It's a wonderful thing. That infrastructure has to be maintained.
HCC's Center of Excellence helps drive the economy by providing local training for local jobs in the technology field.
We have computer programming, we have computer networking and telecommunications, we have digital gaming and simulation, and we have geographic information services.
The Business Center of Excellence is made up of 8 major programs of study. Each of these programs provides you with the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed in the workplace. Come join us. We are open for business.
Our next guest is a student in HCC's prestigious International Student Program, a scholarship program that invites the best and brightest young people from around the world to study here in the U.S. Today, Claudio Martinez is with us for the Dominican Republic. Claudio is studying cybersecurity here at HCC. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome.
Now, this is your first time you've ever been in the States when you got in the scholarship program, correct?
That's right.
And you came here in July, this past July, just in time for Harvey.
That's right.
But you're telling me no big deal for you? Hurricanes?
That's right, because we have many hurricanes in that season.
So you're used to weathering the storm?
That's right, I am.
And so tell me, what did you do? You did some really nice things, because you weren't affected personally. So what did you do right after Harvey hit?
When I saw that Harvey already was gone, so I decided as a group of international students to go and volunteer at GRB, George Brown Center, to help.
And you went there every day for 9 days, right?
Yes, I went there for 9 days every day.
And 12-hour days, 9 to 9, something like that.
At the last 2 days, I did like 8 hours, but other days, for 7 days, I did 12 hours.
12 hours. Oh my goodness. Only a young person like you can do those kind of hours. And what kind of tasks did you help out with?
The one that I really enjoy because let me see and communicate was serving food.
Serving food.
I usually serve food for lunch and dinner, but during the time of lunch and dinner, I used to go to the showers or walking around to see if somebody needs me. So that's what I usually...
That's great. And was it a pretty well organized? I heard it was a very well organized event there, right?
Yes, it was.
So you would serve, like, people would come in long lines and you would just give them the food from the...
Yes, we asked what they want, or they said, oh, I don't want that. So we serve based on what they want, what they wanted.
And what compelled you to go so many days for such long hours? What was it that made you want to help that much?
The idea was like, I saw that I can help. Being at home, I won't do anything, just watching TV.
Right.
Because there is nothing else to do. But the idea was when I saw many people that do not speak English. So it was like, those people might need me. So,
and you did use your Spanish, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like they were my motivation. Not just Spanish speakers, but everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's very commendable. That's great.
That's right.
Now, one of the things you're studying here at HCC is cybersecurity, right?
Yes.
Tell me, why does that subject interest you so much?
Back in my country, I study computer science based on programming. So for me, it was like a really good opportunity because I didn't know anything about it. But when I started like reviewing things, I realized that this career will be a boom in the future, especially with businesses.
Right.
Because there are many people that are looking for their data to steal it or do something bad against of it.
And every day in the news, it seems like every day, we get some big announcement that some huge company had their data compromised.
That's
by that.
right.
So it is a booming field. And you said you were studying IT already in your country before
Yes.
you came here, so now you decided to specialize in cybersecurity.
It was like, I'm studying like a certificate. I haven't finished at home, but in here I was like, oh, it's a good opportunity that even back in my country I won't be able to study. So,
what has your experience been like so far in the U.S.? You know, living with international students. You told me you have a roommate from Colombia, one from Indonesia, and one from Ivory Coast.
That's
so
right.
suddenly you're thrust into this very international world, right? And you're here in the States. What has it been like?
I mean, it's been a really great experience that I have dreamed since I was a kid.
Really?
Yes.
To study here in the U.S.?
Yes, and also because U.S. is really diverse, and I like the diversity. I like meeting new people, learn about languages and culture. So for me, this is a one life experience, living with many people from different countries.
And tell me, how has the classroom experience been different for you here? Like, how does our U.S. style of teaching in the classroom versus in your country?
Where in here, I mean, sometimes the professor.
Are they tougher?
Yeah, I had one. Yeah, it was like really. I mean, classes here are so challenging.
In what way?
I mean, because of the language.
Okay.
And also because the requirements.
Okay.
Sometimes they say something, but the next class they might change their mind. We have an exam 2 weeks later, but they say, no, I changed my mind. It could be today.
So you have to be prepared on the ball all the time, right? Because your professors expect a lot out of you.
Yes,
but that's a good thing, though, right? Because
Yeah.
it makes you study harder.
I do.
Well, what are your hopes and dreams when you go back to the Dominican Republic? What do you want to take back with you, and what do you hope to achieve there?
I'm planning to create like a English exchange, for helping people that are learning English, because many people in my country are learning English through a program that is called English Immersion Program.
Okay.
So sometimes people, besides taking classes, they need to practice, because it's not your read. It's not just reading.
Unless you
it's
keep
also
talking,
speaking.
you get fluent, right?
That's my idea. Just help them.
So create an exchange where someone who knows English will talk in English to someone who's trying to learn English.
No, I mean like everybody that doesn't matter like your language, your English level.
Right.
As soon as you speak English, at least a little bit, you are able to get into the. I mean, also listening. By listening, you can start speaking like babies.
Okay, so you're trying to create a program like that back in your country?
The program is already created.
Okay.
I just want to create like a club where people can go and practice their English.
Oh, that's nice. Like
And
a social club where you speak English all the time.
And I already started like a Facebook group. So most of the people are from my country. And
what's the name of the Facebook group?
It is Let's Speak English no matter what is your level.
Okay, very nice. Now tell us a little bit about the Dominican Republic. I think about beaches, but it's more than just that. What else?
Yeah, we have, besides beaches, we're like a really friendly country. We dance a lot.
And you said the merengue is from there? Is
Yeah,
that right?
merengue and bachata were created in my country.
Are you a good dancer? I bet you are.
You want to dance?
Sure, we need some music. You can teach me a few steps.
Why not?
Okay.
And besides that, we have the first city that was created in the first war, in the new world. It was created by Columbus' brother, Bartholomew, and he created the first city. In that city, we had the first hospital, first university, and the first cathedral.
In the first city of, is that what you're saying?
The first city in the continent.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And he created the first university,
Yeah.
the first hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
The first university was created in 1538.
Okay, 1538.
Yes,
wow.
I studied in the university.
Very nice.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about the Dominican Republic, and good luck with your studies.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay. That's all for this edition of Global Outlook. Join us every Friday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., plus Saturday at 10 a.m. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for watching.